This is Mike Franklin, the property tax guy, and today I want to review with you a story in the Oswego County News. It's about an incident that happened at the town of Scriba town hall, and previously there had been a gentleman who wanted to record the town meeting, from his chair. And the town board, especially this attorney you see in this picture, they wanted to make their own policy that you had to record from the back. And, the New York City Open Meetings Law says differently. He wants to make arbitrary rules to flex his muscles to show that he's a big man. And order the public around, and the guy kind of resisted, and he didn't physically resist. He just says, "Did I break any laws?" And so they halted the meeting and they called the sheriff's department. They had some sheriff's deputies show up, and they had a chat, and he's asking the sheriffs if they're going to come in there and pick him up and take him out, or are they going to arrest him, or what are they going to do? And the one of the deputies, called the guy an asshole and said he's not getting involved in this. And so, there's a long story behind, that deputy having that response. And it pertained to the Michelle Allen case a couple of years ago, where the Oswego County Sheriffs were called in by a town supervisor in New Haven. And the supervisor, Dan Barney, had a vendetta against Michelle Allen because she likes to speak up at town meetings and criticize him. And so he had a vendetta against her. So he pulled in his Republican pal, the sheriff, that he handed petitions out for, apparently. So they're buddies, to have her arrested for some petty nonsense. And then they got their Republican buddy, the DA, to prosecute her. They took her to jail, and she had to stay in jail for the night. And they put leg irons on her and to lead her to her arraignment, and attempted to prosecute her. And anyway, it didn't work out too well for them. The Audit did a video on it, 2.6 million views to date, I believe, and about the ridiculousness of the behavior of the Oswego County Sheriff's deputies. And she basically made an ass out of the entire Sheriff's Deputies Department and Dan Barney. And so then Dan Barney ran for a re-election, and he got destroyed in the election in a landslide, and he's gone. So that's what happens when you mess with the public in this fashion. But anyway, and so when you have 2.6 million people watching a video about how your deputies are idiots, don't know the law, and are condescending and unprofessional, well, it probably made the sheriff's phone ring pretty good. And so anyway, 2 years later, we have a similar situation. Although this guy didn't speak out in a meeting, he didn't say anything. He just sat there in his chair with his phone in his hand, recording the session. And so they called the cops on him, and they're threatening to have him arrested. But the sheriff's deputies decided not to pursue the matter because, they already know what happens when they do that. And but they couldn't help themselves. They had to call the guy an asshole. So this time they got the law right, but they just can't manage to be professional. So in the previous incident, they violated the law, and they were also unprofessional. But in this case, they were just unprofessional. So that is progress in my book. But anyway, so this guy did not get arrested, in my view, because of Michelle Allen's case. Michelle blazed the trail to educate the sheriff's department, and they didn't try to identify the guy. So the sheriff's department learned that they can't just identify people unless they've committed a crime. And they learned that you can't be removing people from these town hall meetings, for things that aren't laws, for policies. They are law enforcement, not policy enforcement. So, Michelle went through all the BS, and she was prosecuted, and she has a lawsuit going, and it's going on for more than 2 years. And she spent the night in jail, and they treated her like crap, and the leg irons and the whole thing. And so she had to endure that because those people, the deputy, the sheriff, and the DA, I think that they were under the impression that she couldn't defend herself. Well, it turned out she's got some friends, and she's got some friends who are lawyers, and so now she did a hell of a job giving these people an education. I don't think that they've learned enough, but they learned a little bit, and to keep this guy out of jail for the night. Because if she didn't blaze that trail, this guy would have gone to jail for the night, and then his case would have been dismissed, and then he would have been suing. So it would have happened eventually because the Oswego County Sheriff's Department is just a highly unprofessional operation, and they don't know about the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment. What is it, the 14th? They're just not trained properly. They're not trained properly in the law, and they're not trained properly to be professionals. And they went into a guy's garage, ripped his 3-year-old kid out of his arms, and shot him dead. The list goes on. I mean, these people are ridiculous. And so, anyway, so I wanted to commend Michelle Allen for keeping this guy out of jail, and giving the town of Scriba, this arrogant lawyer, a little education. What's his name? Kevin Caraccioli. This guy's a real arrogant ass, and somebody dropped some sort of picture of a tar and a feather, and he writes this ridiculous sob story letter, how terrible it is, and we can't have this in this community, and the guy's an idiot, I swear to God. But anyway, it appears that the Oswego County Sheriff's Department is slowly learning, thanks to Michelle Allen. And I don't know. Oh, and also, Dan Wormus from Auditing Erie County came to a subsequent meeting, basically to see if they would arrest him for filming in one of these chairs. But the town had learned their lesson by now, and they didn't arrest him. He even goaded him a little bit, speaking out of turn, just exactly like they said that Michelle did, and so he did what Michelle did at the previous hearing, except worse, and they did nothing, and so so they learned, and it's a public meeting, and you people are not kings. So anyway, kudos to Michelle Allen, the president of the New York State Coalition on Open Government, and she's educating people all over the state, and she's given me the idea to be doing Freedom of Information Act requests for. Actually, I think Dan Wormus was the first to do it. He's foiling credit card statements from these municipalities and checking to see what they're spending on Amazon. So I'm going to be doing that when I have a township that evades my FOIL requests. If they demonstrate that they're untrustworthy and don't abide by the law, I'm going to FOIL their credit card statements, and I'm going to get their Amazon history and see exactly what they purchased, and we're going to review their purchases in detail. If there's anything interesting, I'll relay it on YouTube for everybody to see. And I think that's a good practice. I think the public needs to exercise their rights and find out what these people are doing behind closed doors, because they don't want to be accountable to the public. They don't want people recording them. And in general, this guy just behaves, Kevin Caraccioli or whatever, he's just behaves like a jackass. So anyway, this is Mike Franklin, the property tax guy.